When I left, I first of all made sure I came out with a 2-1 because nobody would want to listen to you studying such a course. But it's a very good course anyway. Then I branched out. I was interested in the media industry. I started out as a freelancer. I did a postgraduate diploma, but I didn't stop there. I knew where I was going to. I had to learn how to conduct interviews. I had to learn how to edit videos. I then how to learn how to shoot videos. I call myself an amateur photographer. I knew these are the things that are needed in the development sector. If you want to tell a good story, a multimedia story, you should be able to have a little bit of all of them. So I did all of this, and by the time I packaged them together, the CV was now richer than it would have been if I just left school and started saying, I am a graduate, I have a 2-1, and I want to hit the job market. So if you want to be productive in a society like Nigeria, that's what I think young people should do. IT rules the world right now. You cannot just wake up, leave your graduate from school and just hit the job market if you don't have what the job market needs right now. And there are young people in that community looking up to this one. So imagine a younger brother of such
bad role model.
So what will they think? My elder brother didn't go to the university, but he has 3 cars, he has built a house in the village, and you are telling me to go to the university. It would be a waste of time. So parenting was difficult, but now it's getting more difficult. My mom used to say, he said, when good parents were giving birth to bad children, the case was manageable. He said, but now, what happens when bad children will now be giving birth to bad children? But I think one way out of it, because there are so many E's in that sector, and there are so many stories that are even unwritten and untold coming out from the church these days. I think one way out of it is that young people should have a mind of their own. I saw a video recently where somebody, maybe a pastor or church leaders, were physically flogging other church members as a way of maybe getting them ready for the ministry, And I was looking at young people in that same church. There was one that went viral some years back where some people were forced to eat grass and all of this. So I don't know the level of I don't know how they have been hoodwinked, how they have been indoctrinated.
Well, it's another very wonderful, lovely day in the city of Abuja, Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria, West Africa, as we meet a young man. We are lucky to meet a young man whose name happens to be Lucky because he has been lucky enough to see enough experience in life. He's a good governance ambassador, a youth development advocate, and someone who has a lot of experience to share with us, especially on work ethics for young people in Nigeria and young people with on how to develop themselves, especially in the work environment, in a toxic environment, how to survive in a hostile environment. I'm happy to meet him. We've been on it for almost 6 months now, trying to track him down, and he's been busy. It's not just An ordinary man is a producer too. Is a man with a lot of innovation flying in his head. And we thank God today that we're meeting somewhere in Abuja. First and foremost, I want to welcome you to Sabi Africa TV, and I want to say, who is Lucky Ihanza? I mean, a lot of young people watching you all over the world want to know who is this wonderful man, sir.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Lucky Ihanza, as you have said. I work in the communications department of an NGO here in Abuja. I started out a long time ago. I was a freelancer with Vanguard newspapers in the special projects department, and then I stepped out to oil and gas, which is part of the stories I will be sharing later. And then I went back to school to study journalism. Then I came out, I started working in the development sector. I'm now a communication specialist for an NGO here in Abuja.
Now, looking at you critically, what do you think is the perception? What is your perception of a productive youth in Nigeria? Because a lot of things is happening now. You look at the youth in Lagos, you look at the youth in Abuja, and some of these are youth that are taking what can I call it, stipends. Some of them are agberus. Some of them are even joining NURTW now, and they find it more productive. They say they are buying Jeep, they say they are succeeding and all that. But what do you think is the concept of a productive youth in the Nigerian context?
I think, first of all, this is the time that young people need to realize that it's no longer just fashionable to just go to school and earn a degree and then you think you're ready for the job market. I think there are too many jobs out there for too few hands who are qualified for it. So, for instance, in my first degree, I studied what nobody will even want to talk about. It's called cooperatives and rural development.
Cooperative and rural development. Yes. I think I'm hearing for the first time. It's urban development.
Yes. Yeah, but this is rural development. Many people don't even know about it. But when I left, I first of all made sure I came out with a 2-1 because nobody will want to listen to you studying such a course. But it's a very good course anyway. Then I branched out. I was interested in the media industry. I started out as a freelancer. I did a postgraduate diploma, but I didn't stop there. I knew where I was going to. I had to learn how to conduct interviews. I had to learn how to edit videos. I had how to learn how to shoot videos. I call myself an amateur photographer. I knew these are the things that are needed in the development sector. If you want to tell a good story, a multimedia story, you should be able to have a little bit of all of them. I might not be handling the camera, but at least I know what to do if the director is not there. I know what to do if the camera handler is not there. So I did all of this, and by the time I packaged them together, the CV was now richer than it would have been if I just left school and started saying I am a graduate, I have a 2-1, and I want to hit the job market. So if you want to be productive in a society like Nigeria, that's what I think young people should do. IT rules the world right now. You cannot just wake up, leave your graduate from school and just hit the job market if you don't have what the job market needs right now. So
what the job market needs right now. Right. That's a very powerful.
So we need to retool for the present, for the circumstances that we have found ourselves in. We have renewable energy these days. You have people are talking about global warming and all of that. So if you are not present in this current conversation, you'll be left out. So if you want to be a productive youth, take a step backwards, take an excursion into your own self, think about what you want to do, and then the current skills that are available in that area, retool yourself, and then you will find out that there are jobs, really, both nationally and internationally.
So that means there are jobs, even some jobs have not even been created, they've not come into existence, but they're still going to fit into the new psychological challenges or the new environment challenges we are facing now.
Yeah, of course. For instance, renewable energy. People are moving away from charcoal, fuel and all of that, gas emissions, and moving into renewable energy. Then if you are a young person who studied, for instance, electrical engineering, and you don't have this mindset of retooling into that area, imagine when, for instance, an NGO is coming into Nigeria, they are ready to invest billions of dollars into that sector. You won't be found. They don't want you. For instance, the UK is talking about in 2030, they will not be producing fuel-driven cars. So what if you find yourself in that environment? You are still talking about I'm a mechanical engineer. What machines are you going to be repairing if you are not retooling for the present circumstances that we have found ourselves? So, yes, as I said earlier, some jobs have not even been created. Because of the kind of skills that you have, you can even create them yourselves. And then sometimes, for instance, if you want to even submit a proposal or apply for a grant, they want to see the innovativeness of what you are proposing. How will this better the lives of people? How will it reduce gas emissions? How will it buy into the current conversation? Once you are able to feel that, then how are you going to sustain this proposal that you are bringing forth? So if you have that, out of 10 people, you wonder, why is this person selected? Something was unique about the presentation. That's why the person is taking. So we need to retool for the moment. That is one message I can't stop telling young people in Nigeria.
We need to retool for the moment.
Yes. We need to retool for the moment.
Let me look at you talking about retooling. Let's even divert a bit. You look at a lot of young people. For instance, my tailor employed a young guy at that time, and he trained him, and he's got that he can do some little job on some of the cloth, the attires. But the boy said the first day he resumed, he wanted to eat, and he said, I want to eat. Then he gave him 300, go and buy food. But he just got that the boy just went away. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he didn't come. Later he now asked his guarantor that what happened? The boy you sent here to come and work. They said out of that 300 you gave him, he used 200 to play Lotto and he won 42,000, and he just walked away. So you see a lot of Lotto addicts, Ogogoro addicts, and tout addicts Agbero on the road. They stopping bike, they stopping. When you see this kind of what can I call it? This kind of crowd in the youth, what do you think the role of the political class should be? And do you think that we're getting it wrong? It's happening in Edo State, in Lagos State, in almost some of the...
It's happening everywhere. I'll tell you a story. On the line of duty, I was in a place in Delta State. I don't want to mention the community. And we're looking for rooms to lodging. And we were 3, and the hotel was fully booked. And when we looked at those people who booked those hotels, were young people, some of them less than 20 years. They were all coming in cars. And so it has to do with the models young people are looking up to in the society. That young man that left saw somebody who made it without going to school, without learning a trade, but yet made it. And so to trap down in quote that young man to learn a trade will be very difficult because of the models that they are now seeing in the society. They get rich quick young boys and girls out there who don't follow the ladder anymore, who want to jump the gun and then just get rich. So if they are seeing this, that community I was talking about just now, we couldn't get a room for 3 of us. We had to take another room that we were not supposed to take. The next day we had to move from one to another because they were all fully booked. Young people every time. I was shocked, even though I had seen some of them before, but I had never seen them in such a large number in one place. So I was wondering, and I was...
What they do for a living?
I don't know.
I think you're talking about the Yahoo industry.
So they are riding in big cars. And
Yahoo Plus.
Yes, and there are young people in that community looking up to these ones. So imagine a younger brother of such...
bad role model.
So what will they think? My elder brother didn't go to the university, but he has 3 cars, he has built a house in the village, and you are telling me to go to the university. It would be a waste of time. So parenting was difficult, but now it's getting more difficult. My mom used to say, he said, when good parents were giving birth to bad children, the case was manageable. He said, but now what happens when bad children will now be giving birth to bad children? That is where we are going to right now.
Bad children are not giving birth to bad children. So that means that we have bad parents now in the system, giving birth to bad children.
Giving birth to bad children. And then you now look up to the political class, it looks like the same thing. It just, the source of the income is what is different. The same thing. The same display of wealth not gain, yes, of openness not gain in the right way, and then young people are looking up to them. Then during the election period, they come and divide us using political and religious rhetorics. They throw away some cash, and then they go back and start amassing wealth again. The young ones are looking up to them. They are taking notes in their mental notes of these attitudes, and then they are growing up in that very toxic environment, and then they are looking up to them. At the end of the day, that is the role model. That is the way they are going to model their life, who they are going to model their life after. It's going to be a sad situation if nothing is done immediately.
Do you think we're in need of good leaders? Because when you look at the political class, every day you wake up, you hear about a senator stealing billions of naira, or a House of Rep member amassing people's commonwealth, or a governor buying houses on Allen Avenue. Even during COVID, bought like 3-4 houses, and his aides are buying houses everywhere because they gave them COVID money that's supposed to be used to ameliorate the problem of the people. When you look at the political class, do you think we're in danger? And what do you think we need to do? It appears that we need a rescuer in chief.
It was Maxwell who said everything rises and falls with leadership. People, by the time they have faith in leadership, they tend to tell us, even though the leaders are, but what about the followers? It's a lie. When they have faith in leadership, they start telling you to go back and talk to the followers. It is leadership. I'll keep saying it. If we get it right with leadership in this country, every other thing will follow suit. For instance, when we go to other clients that we only love to call saner clients, even though sometimes they are not even saner in some extent, you will see people obeying the law, not because they want to, but because they know there are punishments for disobeying the law. If you beat the traffic light, a ticket is sent to you and all of that. But if you know that if you do it here, you can spend 1,500 and you are still okay, you do it and you have more than 1,500. So if we get it right with leadership, top-bottom approach is what is going to happen. If you take, we have gotten so deep in this mess that we cannot be talking about bottom-top approach anymore. It has to be top-bottom. A rescuer in chief who is ready to sacrifice, who is ready to step on toes, who is ready to, it's going to be like surgery. By the time you want to perform a surgery, you will cut an artery, blood will flow. Definitely, that is what we need right now. A rescuer in chief, blood will definitely flow. It will be very difficult, but then when we are done, we will be happy we went through that route.
And looking at it critically, the next sector after politics is the religious sector, the church. With what the kind of stories you are hearing everywhere in the church, I mean, pastors sleeping with actresses sleeping with pastors doing all sort of miracle alert and all that, doing crusades that are not biblically inclined, actors having all sorts of scandals. And you look at it that in our own days in Sunday school, discipline was very, very strict. And you look at it that what kind of children are going to be churned out from this system, whereby the wife fought the pastor and went away, the pastor married somebody else or something, or the pastor even snatched another person's wife, like it happened in Port Harcourt recently with Pastor Adeye of World Bank Ministry. What do you think the role of the church is supposed to be? Because after the home, after the prayer, when the first teacher, I ought to know that church should be the next place where they can use the Bible as a guideline, as a rule to bake us morally.
So that is one area that is very disappointing, to be honest. Sorry, in this country. But I think one way out of it, because there are so many E's in that sector, and there are so many stories that are even unwritten and untold coming out from the church these days. I think one way out of it is that young people should have a mind of their own. I saw a video recently where somebody, maybe a pastor or church leaders, were physically flogging other church members as a way of maybe getting them ready for the ministry.
You are my everything. You are my strength. See the day you will come. Jesus, I am your own. I am your own. I am your own. See the day you will come.
You know, and I was looking at young people in that same church. There was one that went viral some years back where some people were forced to eat grass and all of this. So I don't know the level of, I don't know how they have been hoodwinked, how they have been indoctrinated to that.
The pastor in Ghana was even using scissors to cut the pubic hair of ladies. Says trying to chase the spirit of Ogbanja out of their private parts.
So when you see stuff, you will not be asking yourself, have they lost their mind, really? Maybe, sometimes maybe they have been indoctrinated so long that they now think that is the right thing to do. But today I was talking about this with my colleague, and he was saying, I wish we had sincere regulators in the industry who would first of all take a look at all of this and begin to cut them or begin to cut them up. But I don't even think that will work. I think it now boils down to us now. We need to have a mind of our own. But then The same Bible, why don't you study it yourself? Do you need to wait for someone? Some people will tell you that by the time, as soon as you leave the shores of this country, your prayer points requests would have been reduced by 80% because the government has already answered some of the prayers. That's one part of it. Another part of it is the fact that you need to educate your mind. You need to learn, even if you want to call them spiritual, deep things of the spirit in the Bible, read it yourself. Where is it written that you have to be flogged to be prepared for the ministry? So by the time you see it coming, you might not frontally attack, but you take a walk. Then tell other people who are also listening, looking up to you, this doesn't seem right. You say it a little today, say it tomorrow. Before you know it, some people will hear you. This issue of touch not my anointed, I think it has been misquoted and even abused. Sorry, so to speak, has been abused to the extent that even if the person in front of you who is supposed to be the anointed is misbehaving, you are quickly reminded that you are not supposed to touch not. But touch not does not mean correct not. Touch not does not mean, sir, you are my father in the Lord, but this is not right. I don't think it is. This is what the Bible says, and you taught us so and so date, and this is what the Bible is still saying. What went wrong? And wait for the person to answer. Sometimes you just be shocked that the man also was even. It's not about thus saith the Lord. He was speaking from his mind, and you took it as thus saith the Lord, and then you started misbehaving because of what he said from his flesh.
Imagine a pastor going to say that he has the Holy Spirit whisper to him, and that the angels have started putting money in people's accounts. And when we drag one of the videos closer, we discovered that it's the name of a human being that is in the video, some Fabian, something, and the bank that was used was FCMB. And we're thinking that, can an angel from heaven use FPMB, POS, or something like that to send money to people? Then somebody now came out to talk about it, and the man of God used police to arrest the person, and the police even mess up the case. They said the person go and bring a level 14 officers in Abuja here. They gave him so much stringent condition for bail, even putting him in a cell, and in the night the lawyer of the pastor was trying to subdue the man and all that, and this man says he's a man of God. Then he now said it in June that the Holy Spirit said he should start suing people. Then later when the Israel Balogun took him to court, he said the Holy Spirit said he should not appear in court. Now when you see this kind of men, that women not one or two are coming out to say he slept with us, even his pastor said that he snatched his wife, how does it mean? What do you think is going to happen to Christianity? Because you see them on the stage and you see thousands of people sitting under their administration. Are you not afraid?
You see, I think, first of all, I think we pay too much attention to some of those things, really. Because if the troubles we have in this country, really, or even in life right now, is not that angels are putting money in people's banks. Honestly, I think we even pay too much attention to it. And before you know it, the media is an agenda setter. Yes, sir. By the time they set the agenda, people start reiterating what has been said. Before you know it becomes an issue. It wouldn't have even been an issue, really, because angels putting money in somebody's bank is not even the trouble we are trying to solve in this country, really. So I think a pastor has his flock, the sheep, and the shepherd and his own sheep. I think the shepherd, by the time adults, for that matter, by the time they are sitting under a shepherd and they are taking hook, line, and sinker what the shepherd is telling them, I think they are the ones that they have to. For want of a better way of saying it, like I said earlier, we need to develop a mind of your own. So if you are,
or you want to say they are supposed to be to blame,
they are the ones supposed to be saying, I don't think this is right, or maybe this is right. But if they are swallowing it and it is good for them, for me, if I were in that congregation, I don't think I would have behaved that way. But if that is what their pastor is telling them and they believe in it and they want to go with it, it goes back to building your mind and reading your Bible and knowing what is right and what is, and having a discerning spirit, really. Discerning spirit. So that's why I won't pay attention. I won't watch one video or even that talks about somebody putting money into somebody.
Angels are putting money, and somebody is now saying the bank in America closed a particular account because the money was too much. Yeah. Some even say there are many zeros behind the money. How can a bank in the night close account of somebody because the money is too much? It's ridiculous.
I think it's distraction, really. We shouldn't be paying attention to that. And honestly, there are much bigger issues. My people would say something happened to your fingers, so it's now preventing you from removing what is on your toes. So let's even deal with this one first, because when tree fall on trees, we cut the ones on top first. So these issues that are coming up is because sometimes some people are bored, they are not busy. I won't be at work today and I'll be looking for a video where monies are being paid into the accounts of people. So I think we are paying by angels. So we are paying undue attention to such things, really.
Gabriel, Michael.
Yeah, that's not the issue we should even be talking about, honestly.
So in fact, one of the things that dragged me into discussion with you was one article that went so viral. I think it started in November 2020 that you wrote, and a lot of Nigerians started saying that we need to talk to you. It started with My Friend with Jimoh Ibrahim by Lucky Ihanza, and it's one article that really shocked a lot of people, and it called to the work ethics and work right of young people in this country, especially under the bossy atmosphere of toxic managers and company owners. Can you recall what really happened? What do you think this says about an average employer in Nigeria?
And even an average employee too, especially young people. So it happened, I think it's around 2010. I was just green in Lagos. I left the shores of Warri, Delta State, to look for the greener pastures here. As I said, I was very interested in the media industry, so I was doing freelancing for Vanguard's newspaper and hoping to be employed fully. And so, we got used to, we were always having newspapers every day from not just Vanguard, but other papers are always exchange copies. So one day we got an vacancy advert from Global Fleet Oil and Gas, as it was then called. It was an examination, so he called it an open book exam.
Open book exam?
Yes.
Is it open book? Is it like go to open a book or what?
So what that means is he pointed us to a textbook to read, and then put some questions in the newspaper for you to answer.
This Jimoh Ibrahim of a guy?
Jimoh Ibrahim, barrister Jimoh Ibrahim. So when I saw that concept, I was so happy. I loved him already.
Fell in love immediately?
Immediately. How could you give young people a vacancy advice? You give them a book to read, and then you give them questions, and you ask them to answer those questions based on these two books, and that was it. So I looked out for the books, I got them, and then I answered the questions that this man put there, and they were very interesting. So that was how one day we were called. It was supposed to be the one-on-one interview. We got to his big office on Broad Street in Lagos.
151 to 156.
156 in Lagos, and then we were told that for the fact that we were able to answer the questions correctly, we were employed. It was direct employment.